to come and to participate in this Mission Women's. And I was reading through the invitation. I was just wondering what I can do what I can bring to the meeting, and of this meeting that is held here. And I just couldn't think of anything. The way my name is Nelson Clayton, I'm a chief counselor for Ecola, the Miska village, and I got two of my colleagues, my counselor Peter Stevens and Counselor Claude Barton, came with me. And I read that invitation over so many times, trying to figure out what I can do to come and help on this meeting of the missing women. And I was trying to think of what I can bring. And I've listened this morning of all the suggestions and what can be done. And I was thinking, how many times have this meeting's been held? Ever since the women have been missing in this community and the other places where the young women are missing. And no doubt the parents, the mothers, and the aunties are worried. There were those that have lost the women in their community. And I haven't heard what's the result. All these meetings where the suggestions have been coming through, the suggestions of what should be done. But all the time I read through the report, there's been no results. Where are the suggestions going that the people come and suggest to the panel here? Where are the suggestions going? Is there anything that will give the parents, the mothers, hope that at least what's happening to their loved one? Is there anything that is out there? There must be something that can be done to prevent this from happening. Because I know and I feel for especially the mothers, where are their daughters? Where are their nieces? What are they doing? What is happening to them? And of all the meetings that I hear that's like this morning, I haven't seen one result of any closer to finding out the reason why this is happening. And this morning I hear about the funding, the lack of funding. And what is going to happen to this after the funding runs out? Is it going to be left on the table? And so these questions, I know, especially I feel for the mothers and the aunties and the families, of what is going to happen if the funding runs out for having these meetings and collecting suggestions. And so there must be an answer to give to the families. At least give them some little hope of this missing women to help them, so that I know as a parent, I always worry when my girls, they don't show up, and I get worried that when they're going to come home. And of all the devices that we have nowadays, still we can't find any answers. And so I think through this meeting, through the meetings that has been held, And I hope that there is going to be some kind of answer to give the mothers and the families some kind of hope that this would not happen again. Maybe there can be some kind of advice that the device that's out there today, the technology. And so with that, I'd like to thank those that, when we got the invitation, that's why I was trying to figure out, see what I can bring. And I hope that the next meeting, that there will be some kind of word to the families, that at least something is being done. But right now, I think I know there's laws, but to give the family some kind of hope that it would not happen again. It's still happening, but there's been a lot of suggestions, and I hope that through these meetings something can be come out of it and help the families. Thank you.
Allowing us to be here in their territory. A couple of things that I had to take note on. With the speakers, when Don was talking about having a voucher for bus stops, and I thought that was a really good idea, because when the young ladies are traveling and hitchhiking, they don't have money, they can get on the bus and sign a voucher, sign the paperwork of what he was talking about, and I thought that was an excellent idea. And the other thing too that was brought up was the information sharing between the RCMP, and because it isn't happening during the critical moments, especially when you saw the little boy, God bless him and his family, but those critical moments, instead of waiting days and weeks to for the, I think it was 11 days before we were able to even declare Tamara or have Tamara declared missing. That's a long time in between from the parent actually coming along and saying my daughter's missing. That's a long time with that one. It should be like an Amber Alert. The other thing is when Mildred was talking about having we all have our own stories. She's heard all our own stories. So when we talk about healing tools, when we talk about having that right to stand up and to be strong, having that right to understand that because we're raised in trauma doesn't mean we have to live in trauma, but getting those healing tools front and foremost. As well as other issues that were brought up, like what Robin Austin was talking about with funding the advocates. And I had a question about the RCMP. I know the victim support person in Prince Rupert is excellent. Who is our victim support person here in Terrace? Okay. All right. I wasn't sure. I've never met you, and I worked for Commodity for 6 years, right? For the Indian Residential School. Yeah. So, yeah, our paths need to cross more with that. So, and that, which brings me to the other part with funding the advocates. When we were looking at some of the government offices, one in particular, the DFO, they're just looking at the receptionist's wage. Just to answer the phone and greet people at the door, she was clearing over $48,000 a year. That's just one office, one receptionist in BC. So I think that's a little unbalanced, and we need to look at that, adding to Robin's comment to this on the sports pavilion stuff. The other thing is that when Chanel was talking about getting training here, getting the money here, it isn't that we don't have the resources, it's that we don't have the money to expand. Terrace has 60% on any given day Aboriginal people. There are 4 nations that come into Terrace, that come into the area, in their surrounding area, and there's also 7 villages. We have 3 areas that are in our catchment area. And when you look at how many people are on reserve and how many First Nations are off reserve, it's really unbalanced. And that's something that we really need to really push and have that balance. Have that balance where the funding, where is the funding going? We need to look at where the success stories are. And I know Kermode, we have put together a Kermode Friendship Society, and again, what Chanel had talked about, a lot of people, especially when they're new into town, whether they're First Nations or non-First Nations, come to Kermode. We have about 38% of people who utilize our services are non-First Nations and are new to the territory. But anyway, when we have the soup kitchen and the breakfast kitchen going, that's when people, a lot of people start coming in and finding out what's available, where else can they go. Even people stopping to ask directions, that we're always front and foremost with that. And that's something that's really important that we need to stress, that the friendship centers are so valuable and so important throughout BC. When we had, when the inquiry was happening in Prince George, we didn't know what happened, and that was another thing that Nelson, thank you for bringing that up, was that we didn't see a report. We did not get a report here in Terrace. We had no idea who the contact was in Prince George. We had no idea who she was. And that's from Smithers this direction. And that's when some of the Walk for Justice women were coming from Rupert all the way to Prince George to make a statement with that. And Brigida Bartlett and Marianne Weston, and God bless them, they were front and foremost. Shelby Raymond came forward and really helped to keep this in the front lines, to keep this on the front page. And that's something as well, when we tell our kids, when we tell our families that we're standing up and we're going to walk with our healing tools, we're going to learn our healing tools so you can walk beside us instead of hitchhike. That's the point that we need to make. That's the direction I think that we need to go with that, is to say, yes, we can do this together, not just as a people, but not just as a nation, but as a people united, regardless of where we come from, no matter who we are, no matter how old we are, or how young we are, that our children need to know safety comes first within us, that safety is with us. And through that, the generations of healing, the residential school healing,
So with that, I have to say thank you for listening to me. Now I'll do what I was supposed to do, closing prayers. وأتاكم سموعي Kitsumkalum Hall. Terrace Amazon Basa Terrace na akshaks na moksit. Terrace Kalum Amazon Basa go say once that's the mom what the what in wala Amazon Basa nito. Kuno terbangun nama Deus kata Kristus and associate. And the words to which the word from now, amen. Oh, I was going to thank the lady for the gift. I'll show you what I got.
I want to closing thank everybody for coming. I really appreciate all of you taking some time out from your life to come here. We came here in order to get advice and input and comments, and criticism, all of those things, and we heard a lot. We'll take all of that into account, and particularly the study commission aspect of it, as to what advice we should give to the appropriate authorities. Thank you again for coming.